Hi, welcome for our online training sessions. So this session will talk about supplier matching process. Supplier match process. For example, the organization is already having some relationship with one supplier, and we have one more supplier. These two suppliers are merged due to their business, and we also wanted to go for merge those supplier information in our ERP applications. Then we will use supplier matching process. Okay, so what I have done is I have taken this user, and this user is having both the supplier as well as account payables access. In case if you are going to have the new user, then what you have to do is you need to assign the role called supplier manager, accounts payables manager, and accounts payables supervisor, accounts payables specialist. These four roles you are supposed to assign to your user, as well as provide the data access and run the LDAP process. Then you can go for start, create a new suppliers. We are going to create two suppliers. And then we are going to create a couple of invoices for the current supplier or first supplier. And then we will try to merge first supplier with second one, with second supplier. Then we are going to test the result. Whenever we test the result, what happened? We are supposed to get all the invoices which are created for the first supplier must be updated with the second supplier name. So that should be the result. Okay. So this process, we call it as a supplier matching process. Why we required supplier merging processes? Whenever the suppliers are merged outside their business. So obviously we are also supposed to update those information in our system. Then we will be going for supplier merging process. We will be going for supplier merging process. Here it is. Let's go for applications. So I'm going to create a couple of suppliers first. Before we go for create supplier, make sure that you are supposed to check your supplier approvals. Approvals are automatic or not. Otherwise, what happened when you try to create a supplier, the system will go for approval process. I'm just going to show you how to check the supplier approvals. We have already done in our previous sessions, supplier approvals. Go to approval management and all tasks, and then supplier internal. First thing, supplier spend authorized approvals. This we are supposed to check which supplier approval process is enabled. That we are supposed to check. This one is enabled. This one is enabled. So just check the rules. What rules are configured? See, the rule always applies. It means for everybody it is applied, and it's telling that approvals are required from the single person, and the user type is supplier manager. So I'm just trying to make it as, instead of single approval, I'm putting it as automatic approval. Go for save. After saving this, we are supposed to deploy this, otherwise it won't work. After saving the approval process, let's go for deploy this process. Click done button. Let's go for another internal supplier profile change approval. It means if you make some changes for the supplier, that time also we will be having the approval process. Let's take this option. It's enabled right now. Let's go for edit rules. This is also need some approval from administrators. I'm putting it as an automatic. Approved. Save this and go for deployment. Let's go for save and close. Fine. So once we do all these things, now we can go ahead with our supplier process, creation of the process. Log in with this user. So make sure that he is an employee and as well as the buyer, then you will be able to find the process. Let's go to navigator here. And we are going for procurement, suppliers. Procurement suppliers, go to task list and create supplier. I'm going to create a new supplier here. Putting it as an vendor A, and business relationship is spend authorized, and tax organization is corporation. Let's go for creation of this here. Supplier has created. Let's go for supplier address here. Go for create and supplier address. Make sure that this user is a buyer, then only you will be able to assign your supplier site to your business unit. If you are not buyer, then you cannot go for assign. So he must be a buyer. So I'm putting it as an vendor address. Going to use this supplier's address for ordering as well as for RFQ as well as for bidding. Both are documents in procurement module, requesting the quotation from suppliers and as well as for bidding. That purpose we'll be using. Let's go for save and close. Supplier address we have created successfully. After we save this record, and whenever we go for sites tab here, go to the tab called sites. Yeah, you will get this message. An address must exist before creating a site, but we have already created address, right? Address is already there. Then why we are getting this message means it takes just a couple of minutes time to get the approvals for the supplier address. So that's why what we have to do, let's submit this process and search supplier. By that time it will be available because we configured auto approval, right? So internally it will be auto approved. Let me search this supplier. So you are getting still this icon. It means a profile change request is pending for this supplier. Still it's waiting for approval or it is in process, approval process. But we configured that as automatic. We are supposed to get it. Let's wait for a couple of minutes here. We can get a notification also as soon as it's done. A profile change request is pending for the supplier. Okay. We configured already automatic. Let me cross check once. We need a FSM access, right? So if we have FSM access, then we can navigate to setup and maintenance. And then let's go to our procurement functional area. Then go to approval management. Select all tasks, then we'll find supplier internal profile change approvals, internal supplier registration. Okay. Almost all the things are enabled here. That's going to be the only supplier administrators can approve it. Let me cross check once. We can log in with our yes, vendor A was approved. Took some time. Let's go for procurement suppliers. Manage suppliers. Yes. Now we don't have icon. It means it's got approved successfully here. And let's go to edit. Now we would like to go for create supplier site. Let's go to the tab called site here. Now it will allow us to create the site here. So let's go for create site here. I'm selecting the address, vendor, and I want to use this site for making the payments to suppliers. Here it is. And now we are going ahead with save. Once we save this, we can go for assign this supplier site to the business unit. So whenever we want to assign the supplier site to the business unit, make sure that you are a buyer and working for at least one business unit as a buyer. Here we can find. So go to site assignment and go for auto create assignments. Go for auto create assignments. Now, whatever the business units are associated for this particular buyer, that will be automatically assigned here. Okay, let's go for save and close. This is first supplier we have completed successfully. I'm going to have one more supplier here. 2 suppliers we are going to have. spend authorized supplier here. Corporation, click create button here. Go for address. Vendor B address. And after we save this address, let's go for site and again save. We need to wait for a couple of minutes. Let's go for submit here. Second supplier, supplier B. It takes a couple of minutes. Now supplier has got approved. Let's go for site. Let's go for create a supplier site. Choose the supplier address here. Select site name as vendor B site. And I want to use this for making the payments to suppliers. And let's go for assign the supplier auto create assignment to the business unit. Right. Let's go for save and close. So this is how we will be able to perform the suppliers creation. Now we have two suppliers. What I'm trying to do is I'm going to make an invoice. Even invoices, purchase orders also can be done. So even we can do it purchase orders also. First, we'll see the invoices, how to match the invoices here. After that, we will go for checking that purchase orders also. Okay, let's go for payables, invoices. Payables, invoices. I'm creating a couple of invoices for first supplier. Selecting the business unit here and select first supplier, vendor A. I'm not getting first supplier here. Yeah, got it. Select supplier, first supplier, supplier site. We have only one site, obviously we'll get automatic. And based on our business unit, the legal entity will be populated. And I'm putting it as A11 and invoice amount $99. Standard invoice I'm going to create here. Let's go for enter the invoice lines here and enter this line amount and go for distribution combination, accounting combination we are going to specify here. All segments will be populated. So we have 6 segments here. It depends on the clients. They will have different segments. Whenever we create an invoice, this invoice amount must be distributed to the different accounts, right? Different departments. Otherwise, without that, if we just note down all the information, for example, number of end of the quarter or end of the year, there will be some thousands and millions of invoices if it is a big client. So it's very difficult to analyze the business, either expenditure or income or maintenance or assets or liabilities. It's very difficult. for this department, how much expenditure we got, for this account, how much income we got. This is very difficult. That's why whenever we are trying to create an invoice, we are going for detailed distributions. So the invoice document will be 3 levels, right? Header, lines, and distributions. There will be only one header, at least one line. We can have multiple lines here, and every line, at least one distribution, and also can have multiple distributions, right? So the invoice will be clearly specified, means different accounts and distributions. Now I'm going for validating the invoice, and if the tax is there, it needs again revalidation. You're supposed to cross check that. Yes. So let's go down here and taxes. And I'm trying to remove this tax here. This tax comes from the Fusion taxes module. There is a separate module to calculate the tax for account payables and account receivables. From the taxes module, tax regime, tax name, tax jurisdiction. Based on that, it's going to be populated. Let's go for validate the invoice again. Let's validate it. And we don't have the access to go for transfer accounts to general ledger. Not an issue. Let me go for create another invoice. It's US1 business unit, supplier A. A12 $100. Go for lines. Go for save and close. So on first supplier, we have 2 invoices. If we go for manage invoices and search for the supplier A, we'll get whatever the invoices are there, last 3 days or 7 days. It's okay. We'll choose for last 3 days because we created with today date, right? There are 2 invoices for the first supplier. That's fine. And let me go for create even purchase orders also. create order here. Choose the supplier name. For first supplier, I'm trying to create purchase order here. So purchase order document will be entered at 4 levels: headers, lines, shipments, and distributions, right? So we have already discussed in our procure to pay cycle. So now this is our header information. Here, schedules are nothing but shipment. For example, we are ordering 4 items to supplier. The supplier has to ship all these 4 items in the same location or different locations. That information will put it in the shipments. So if it is same location, same line will be copied here. And if it is, for example, client says that 2 items are in this location, 2 items are in another location, we are supposed to go for create another shipment here. And when the goods are received into this location is nothing but a business unit or branch, okay, or inventory. This expenditure, whatever the cost that we are getting, that is supposed to be calculated under that particular account. That's called distributions. Wherever we find distributions, we call it as accounting combination, right? So whatever the amount we have that we are going to distribute to the different departments or different locations or different branches or different companies, if the client is having multiple companies. Okay, so now we have created purchase order here. By default, if we don't enter distributions, we'll automatically get it here. From where it will copy default values in account payables module. In the initial stage, we did setups, manage invoice options and common options for payables and procurement, right? Liability account, charge account. From there, it's going to retrieve. But for procurement module, we'll have separate process. Supply chain management consultant will configure it from the TAD. We call it as a TAD, transaction accounting definitions. As a finance consultant, we don't need to worry about that. But for procurement consultant, it's mandatory about TAD. You must enter either requested date or promised date for planned items. So line number 1, shipment number 1, there is a problem. So here we are supposed to choose when we need the material and when the supplier has promised. Need by date and delivery date. Requested delivery date, promised delivery date, we are supposed to specify. Now it's incomplete. Now save this invoice, sorry, purchase order, and let me cross check the approval. Here, applications development framework is the approver, means it's auto approval. No problem. Let's go for submit. So now what happened? We created a couple of invoices for first supplier, and we also created one purchase order for first supplier. Now the organization has decided to merge first supplier with the second supplier. So that what happened? Whatever the documents we have with the name of first supplier, those all will be merged with the second supplier. There is an option called merge suppliers. Go to merge suppliers here. Go to merge suppliers. Here is an request from supplier site. From which supplier to which supplier you would like to go for merge. So we are supposed to choose from supplier to which supplier this is. And while transferring the documents, when I say documents, purchase orders, invoices, payments, whatever the documents you would like to transfer, that we can choose this options. You want to transfer all the documents, or you would like to go for just only few documents, depends on the requirement. We can choose the option here. Okay, so let me take this create new option, add row. So from which supplier we are talking now? Vendor A. Select the supplier name here. And again, from which supplier site? Vendor A site. There is a checkbox here, copy site. When you choose this checkbox, what happened? This site name will be copied to the second supplier. We have already supplier B, right? Vendor B is there, and vendor B has got one site also already. Okay, but if your client says that, let's copy this site to vendor B. So from supplier site, when you check this checkbox, what happened? This site, whatever is there, that will be copied to your second supplier. For example, your second supplier is there here, vendor B, right? Vendor B we have. And if I check this checkbox, what happened? This vendor B is already having one site. Again, this A site will be copied to vendor B. This A site will be copied. That's why it is not asking for which supplier site you want to match, because you decided to copy including the site. It's not only the document, including the site you want to go for copy. If you uncheck this checkbox, What is the meaning of that? You are just trying to copy the documents or merge the documents only, not the site. You don't want the site. You don't want the site. Then it is asking, okay, whatever the documents you are trying to merge, what name you would like to put. What is the supplier site name? There is already one site, right? Vendor B site. Let's see. I would like to go for copy the site also. I would like to go for copy this site also. That's fine. And here is a transfer options. You want to go for, all the invoices, all the purchase orders, all unpaid invoices. Okay. Purchase orders and all invoices, purchase orders and unpaid invoices. So which documents you would like to go for it, or none? None in the sense there won't be any documents will be copied. Only the site will be copied from first suppliers to second supplier. Okay. So what my requirement is, I would like to go ahead with purchase orders as well as all the invoices. Purchase orders and all the invoices. This site also will be transferred to second supplier. Now vendor B is going to have two sites. Already one site is there and this is going to be copied. Okay. So let's go for submit this program. Internally, system will run the process and do all these actions. This action is irreversible. It means you cannot go for reverse this action, whatever you are trying to perform, and may result in updates to transactions. So obviously, the transaction means purchase orders and invoices will be updated based on your information. Do you want to continue? Yes, we would like to go for continue. Okay. So internally, what happened? System has submitted the process. Generally, we can check this process from tools menu, scheduled. From here also we can go for check, but Oracle has given the facility here itself. Here itself they given, just refresh. We'll find the supplier, match supplier process. Process means program. Internally it's running. We have to wait till the program is completed successfully, and then we have to view the output here. In case if there are any warning messages or error messages, we are supposed to check from here in the log file. It takes a couple of minutes time. You can find the process is completed successfully here, status, and just check the output, view output. Now we can find merge summary here, summary information I'm able to find here. From vendor A site to vendor B, and the supplier site also we have copied, and the status is merged. Information has been transferred. Number of total suppliers 1. Purchasing documents, how many purchase orders has been updated? 1. And invoices are updated 2. That's what we have, right, for the first supplier. Okay. And let me cross check this. Let's go back to our application, and I just wanted to search. Let's go back to invoices. And if I find a recent invoices, last 24 hours, see A11 and A12, both the invoices with the name called vendor B. Vendor B. Earlier it was vendor A, but site is same site, because we have copied including the site, right? So that's why we have that information. Even purchase order also we will find same. Let's go to purchase orders and search for the purchase order. Manage orders. Click search button. We can find this vendor B. vendor B is there, right? The information has been updated here. Okay. And even if we look at the suppliers, if we see the supplier A, if we look at for supplier A, manage suppliers. Vendor A, we can find vendor A, but when we go for edit, inactive C, inactive. System has disabled that first supplier and today date 16th. See, there is no site. And of course, supplier will be there, but this is created on so-and-so date. Inactive date is this because it's already merged with the second supplier, right? And the moment when we go for vendor B, second supplier, there will be two sites. We'll find two sites over there. Here, vendor A site is there and B site. So both the things has been copied here. Okay. So this is how we are going to do the merging process, supplier merging process. It's a standard procedure. Almost in every project we'll be working with supplier matching process. Okay, let's do this practice and let's see the result and make sure that everything is done properly. And you can log in with this login. Otherwise, as I have specified here, you are supposed to go for first hire employee, then create a user account, and then go for add following roles. Also make an employee. After hiring an employee, make employee as agent, means buyer. You are supposed to do the buyer setup for the business unit. We have already discussed about how we can do the buyer setup, and then go for add the following rules to your user, and then provide the data access. Data access means we have to choose the username. After that, we have to choose the role name. Then we are supposed to choose the business unit and then run the LDAP process. This is only for account payables invoices, but you would like to go for create purchase order also, right? Let's go for add another role called procurement manager. Add this role, then you will get a purchase order work area. There you can go for create purchase orders and you can go for test those purchase orders also. Okay, thank you.